A very warm good morning to everyone. I, Jatinder Kaur, would like to welcome you all in today's webinar on the topic the pandemic and opportunity to foster digital citizenship or trigger cyber threats. In this global emergency, when coronavirus pandemic continues to disrupt health, economic, political, and social system, dependency on digital communication multiplies. The internet has almost instantly become the channel for effective human interaction. Keeping students and schools safe in a digital world already mattered, but recent changes have increased the importance of cybersecurity and even more. The rush to digital sources of learning, or rather I should say virtual learning, has introduced an array of new technologies and internet destinations, vastly increasing our digital footprints and hence become the need of an hour to be protected from cyber threats. So, to educate our students and faculty members in order to have safer online experiences and risk of cybercrime declines, making each day safer and more secure than the one before, our school has taken an initiative to organize this webinar. For this webinar, we have Mr. Rakesh Khawal as a spokesperson with us, who is a dynamic IT leader with more than 2 decades of IT industry experience, the managing director at the Cyberbit. Overall, he had 25 years of experience in the IT industry, leading high growth businesses, focusing on advanced and niche technology solutions. He has also worked with Microsoft as its product manager. Mr. Rakesh's in-depth IT and cyber understanding was pivotal in driving positive outcomes at Microsoft, and he was one of the founding members for building its CISO forum. Sir, I welcome you on behalf of Balbhavan Public School and would like you to throw some light on the above topic with a healthy discussion along with our panelists who are students of our school from classes 9 to 12th. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the warm and kind words. It's a pleasure to be part of this webinar, and I want to thank the principal, the school management, teachers, and all the students and my co-panelists here who've taken efforts to bring this all together. And it's a very appropriate topic. Especially we are currently in the pandemic, and we're trying to discuss a topic which is very relevant. Whether this pandemic is helping us foster digital citizenship, or it's triggering more of cyber threats. So it's a very appropriate topic, and in the next 45 minutes or so, we will try and discuss this with the panel, student panel, and see what their thoughts and opinion are with regard to this. But before I do that, I would want to introduce the student panel to you. So one by one, let me start with Pratham first. Pratham, would you want to introduce yourself, please?
It's time to focus on the cybersecurity menace before it gets out of our hands. Greetings everybody, I Pratham of class 11th feels honored and obliged to the school for choosing me as a student panelist for this informative webinar.
Thanks Pratham and welcome. And now I will request Sanvi to introduce herself, please.
My heartfelt greetings to our Honorable Principal Sir, today's guest, Mr. Rakesh Sir, and the entire team of panelists. My name is Sanvi and I am a student of 12th standard. I would like to express my gratitude towards our school for giving us this wonderful platform to express ourselves, and I'm grateful to be a part of today's panel.
Welcome Sanvi. Over to Sagar. Sagar, can you introduce yourself, please?
In this world of technology, it would be impossible for us to spend a single day without our smartphones or laptops. Though these are very useful devices, but it needs to be secured as there are plenty of people waiting for you to make a single mistake. Good morning to respected Principal Sir, Rakesh Sir, teachers and all my dear friends. Today I Sagar Bak of class 10. I am grateful to get this golden opportunity to be the student panelist and participate in such a concerning and important topic.
Welcome Sagar. Over to Disha. Disha, can you introduce yourself, please?
For every lock, there is someone out there trying to pick it or break it. Good morning to one and all present here. Today, I, Disha Chawla, a student of class 10th. I'm feeling very grateful that I got this opportunity to be a panelist in this cyber safety webinar. I would thank my school, principal sir, and teachers for considering me capable for this webinar.
Pleasure to have you. Can I have Subrat, please?
I really think that if we change our own approach and think about what we have available to us, that is what will unlock our ability to truly excel in security. Good morning to our respected principal sir, Rakesh sir, teachers, and my dear fellow panelists. Today, I, Subrat Panda from class 9, feel privileged to be a part of this webinar as a student panelist.
Welcome, Subrat, and over to now Samiksha.
Success in creating AI would be the biggest event in human history. Unfortunately, it might be the last unless we learn how to avoid the risk. A very warm welcome to everyone today. Myself, T.S. Samiksha, student of class 11th. I'm really glad that I got the opportunity to be a panelist in today's panel discussion. I'm really grateful to my teachers and school for providing such a great platform to voice my opinion regarding cyber attacks and threats.
Thanks, Samiksha. Looking forward to hearing your views. Over to Adhya, please.
One of the main cyber risks is to think they don't exist. The other is to try to treat them as without being aware of. My school has organized a webinar to make us more aware of the cyber threats coming up nowadays. A very happy morning to Rakesh sir, principal, my teachers, and my dear friends. Today, I, Adya from class 9, has been given a golden opportunity to be a part of this webinar being the student panelist. I sincerely thank my school.
Welcome. And finally, I have Shivam. Can you please introduce yourself, please?
Technology trust is a good thing, but safety is a better one. Good morning to the respected principal, sir, our today's guest, and all present here. I, Shivam Bansal, student of class 12, is feeling grateful to be a part of this webinar as a panelist. I am very thankful to the principal, sir, and all the teachers for providing me this opportunity.
Thanks so much. Really look forward to the conversation with the panel. Before I, open the panel discussion, what I would want to do is I want to set up the context. I want to share my own views based on my own understanding of the market and how this pandemic is shaping up the whole digital economy. I'll spend the next 15-20 minutes giving you an overview to what my own opinion on this whole topic is, and then I will open up the panel for questions and discussions. And of course, later on to the larger audience, all the students and all the people who've logged in to this webinar, they could post their questions on the chat, and I would try and see if time permits. I will try and address few of those questions as well. But I would now spend, just before I start this session, are you able to see my slides, please? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
You can see my slides, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So wonderful. So as we discussed, the topic for the day is that is this pandemic an opportunity for fostering digital citizenship, or is it triggering or you see a surge in cyber threats? So let's discuss that. But before I do that, I want to set up the context. The whole definition of literacy in the 21st century is changing. Today, as you can see from this graphic, digital literacy is a new language disruption, and it's starting at a very, very early age. Even toddlers are beginning to recognize technology and play with it. So this flips the whole definition of what is an illiterate. Earlier we believed an illiterate is one who cannot read or write, but that definition doesn't work anymore because it's not about, in the digital age, it's not about whether you can read or write, but it's all about who can. Illiterates are those who cannot learn, unlearn, or relearn. So that's the whole objective of this, the paradigm shift that's happening because of the digital adoption. And second. Why is this not moving? Yeah, sorry. So the question that comes to our mind is, are we in the digital age? Are we already in that stage where we are digital citizens? We are, citizens of the 21st century where we can't do without digital gadgets. So if we are using mobile phones, if we are using technology, laptops, then we are in the digital age. And imagine this whole webinar is being conducted using digital platforms sitting out of our homes. So we are definitely in the digital age. Now, when we are in the digital age, that means we are all digital citizens. So when we talk of digital citizens, what is a digital citizen? Who is a digital citizen? So in a very simple way, what it means is it's basically the appropriate and responsible behavior with regard to technology use. So whatever technology that we use to enable our digital lifestyle in the digital age, what are the do's and don'ts? How responsible and appropriately are we using those? So now where do we learn this etiquettes? Who teaches us digital citizenship? Where do we learn this from? Because we, by choice or without choice, we are already in the digital age. We agree to that. So who's that? Where do we learn this digital etiquettes from? So one, of course, we know we learn from our parents. So our parents, they are using these gadgets. They tell us what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong. And of course, schools where our formative period of our life is spent in school. Our teachers, all of them teach us, what is right, what is etiquettes of using, these devices and technologies. And of course, you also have the governments creating laws. You have cyber laws which tell you, what are the do's and don'ts of using technology in the digital world. So you have the government regulating a lot of these laws. And of course, most of our learnings happens through informal channels from our friends, from our peers, from our seniors, from our neighbors. And of course, a lot of learning, a lot of this learning that you will see happens, on the job. What I call on the job is basically when you are using that media, when you are on the social platform, a lot of it you learn from experience. What is good behavior? What is bad behavior? What is hurting you? What is appreciative? So there's a lot of learning that happens on the social media platform where people around you on the platform, they teach you what is good behavior or what is being a perfect digital citizen is all about. Of course, there are various subcategories to being a digital citizenship, and under all these categories, there are 9 categories. You basically are defining what are your responsibilities with regard to using this technology appropriately. So with this background, what a digital citizen is all about and what the responsibilities are, I thought I'll come back to the topic. And I'll set it up for the panel discussion. Basically, let me answer this question whether this pandemic is fostering digital citizenship. The answer is a very, very big and resounding yes. And let me explain this with a lot of data points that is available today. So, for example, Cisco predicts that in 2021, the IP traffic will hit 3.3 zettabytes annually. Just imagine this 3.3 zettabytes annually. Just to put this in perspective, it can store all the movies that are made in the world till date in the last over 100 years can be stored. Can you imagine the kind of data that is being generated, traffic that is being generated in just 1 year? So that's how the growth is happening. The digital adoption is happening. Look at the IoT devices. I don't know whether you understand Internet of Things. The 21 billion IoT devices expected to be around the world today, and this is going to be doubling in next 5 years. And just to address your own education system. Look at every institute today has gone online. All these courses that you do, educational programs like Byju's, Topper, GradeUp, Unacademy. Unacademy is just about to become a unicorn. So that's the kind of 3x, 4x kind of growth that we're seeing in technology adoption. And this has gone up in the pandemic many folds. For example, National Digital Library of India has opened it up to be accessed online free of cost. It was never done before. It was not, the technology was not available. People didn't feel the need for it. They thought books is a great way to learn. I can buy those books. My teachers can teach in school. Why do I need to really go and online access these libraries? Similarly, another example is NCERT, making available all their books on the net as e-NCERT or e-books. So that's again a welcome change. That's huge adoption of digital technologies. Of course, a lot of it is not by choice. This has also been forced by the circumstances, but nevertheless, it is fostering a lot of digital adoption. And of course, there are other statistics like the Google platforms, all these chat applications and video sharing applications are all growing, many fold. Be it Google Meet, be it Zoom, be it the one that we're talking on, the Teams, Microsoft Teams, all of them. There's been a huge, I don't even want to get into the details of the percentage growth, but all of this has happened in last 3 months. Look at the grocery deliveries, all the grocery delivery apps, everything that we procure today is all being delivered at home. In this whole, when the economy is down, it's the essentials, the groceries, they've been growing. I don't know whether you saw this, the biscuit sales have gone up 3 times in the last 2 months. So that's been a change. How technology is being leveraged to deliver groceries to every nook and corner of the country. And of course, needless to say, you students will relate to it very well, is the gaming. The gaming adoption, the time that people are spending online on the internet has gone up many folds. So the pandemic has definitely fostered adoption of more technology, people going more digital. You've seen a huge rush from teachers who've been from old school, not very comfortable with technology, also spending a lot of time learning how to run online classes, teachers being taught about it, students learning, young toddlers learning them even faster. So it's been a great, last 2-3 months where people have spent a lot of time, adopting to digital technologies, even older people and all that stuff. And this has been growing at a rapid pace, and I don't think this is going to be reversible. Of course, the other part of the question is, because you have a digital, citizenship growing up, there is a manifold increase in it. Is it triggering cyber threats? Is this pandemic also giving an opportunity for the bad guys, to make the most of this whole adoption of digital technology? And the answer to this again is a resounding yes. I will again answer this through few data points. There has been a huge increase of malicious content and threats increasing, hackers being much more active, leveraging this pandemic, to increase, the targeted attacks many folds more. And it happens in any kind of an epidemic or a pandemic or a crisis that bad guys try and leverage. They play on this human psychology of what we call as social engineering, where they try and understand your mindset, understand what are you vulnerable to. So pandemic is one opportunity where the bad guys thought that everybody's worried for themselves, their near and loved ones. They wanted to protect them, and they wanted to know the cure for it. So the bad guys know this psyche, so they play on this. They start creating a lot of fake websites, a lot of phishing emails that prompts you to go and click on them because you are looking for that information on pandemic. So COVID-19 was a great opportunity to, throw a lot of fake, links and malicious links and create a lot of fake websites where we could give you cures for those, pandemic, sell you fake medicines, masks, and whatnot. And similarly, even WHO wasn't spared. The organization which is in the forefront of fighting this pandemic, they have been their attacks on them have gone up fivefold. There are these security research firms. They've been reporting that spear phishing, which is a very common tool adopted to hack into personal and confidential information from people's devices, has gone up more than 67%. Similarly, phishing attacks have also been going up. Every organization has been reporting it. Google, spam mails have been going up, and this whole cybercrime industry, by 2021 is expected to be about 6 trillion business. Imagine Indian economy is little less than 3 trillion. So this is more than double our Indian economy. That's the size of this whole cybercrime market. So this is not going away anytime soon. And with the digital adoption, this will continue to increase even more, because bad guys are always looking at these opportunities where they find people to be more vulnerable to sharing their information. They try and make the most of it. So both you will see a lot of search in cyber. You already seen, and you will continue to see these surges going up. So the million-dollar question is, what do we do? Do we adopt digital citizenship? Do we go digital, or do we look at the risk of cyber threats going up and not go digital? I think the solution lies between. I don't think we do have the option of not going digital, because imagine the way we're running schools and classes today. If you don't go digital, you just can't run those classes. You don't have a choice. You have to run those classes. So digital, not going digital is not an option in my view. But what we need to do is we need to go digital with safe cyber behavior. So we have to learn how to go digital, how to transact digital, how to communicate digitally. But at the same time, we have to be very clear on cyber safe behavior. And I put some pointers here, especially for the students, who are new to social media, who are learning how to transact on social media, who are trying to learn and communicate using internet. It's very important that you learn these few things, which is very very important to protect yourselves and your loved ones, and also not create any financial harm. So I'll try and spend few minutes on this slide to give you my perspective and what you could do, especially for the students, benefit of students. For example, this generation, especially this generation, the new generation, they are not too concerned about privacy. Like the older generation or the generation that I came from, we were a little reluctant to share our personal information very easily. But today, with social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, we are very very comfortable. Especially the new generation is very comfortable sharing everything about them, what they eat, what they like, where they go, when do they celebrate their birthdays, their selfies and all those photographs. They're very comfortable sharing everything about themselves on internet. And this is something one has to be a little careful, because you need to keep your personal information limited. Somebody, let's say, for a who's interviewing you for a job, or let's say there is a professional competition that you need to participate. He doesn't need to know your personal status. He doesn't need to know your home address. He doesn't need to know a lot of things about your family or your other hobbies. So try and keep that. Try not to share those kind of personal informations as much as possible. Share only what is relevant for that particular job or the contest or whatever you're participating in, and of course keep it as limited as possible. Other thing that we always forget is we always never focus too much on our privacy settings. Every app, whether it be Facebook, be or be Instagram or any social media platform or even WhatsApp, anything that you interact with or communicate with, all those applications have privacy settings. Of course, they keep it at it's very difficult to locate those settings because try and understand the mindset of these marketeers and the bad guys. Their objective is to know everything about you. Their objective is to know what you do, what you eat, what you wear, who your friends are, where do you go on holidays, which games you play, which are your favorite brands, which phone you use. So they are all the time interested in knowing everything about you, your family, your friends, and the marketeers want to know that because they want to sell you more of what you like and have customized and personalized marketing, ads and banners sent to you. And that's how the Googles and Facebooks make them billions in advertising. And of course, the bad guys, for obvious reasons, they want to know, everything about you, to know where you're vulnerable and how to exploit you to get that information out. So it's very important that each one of you understands that every app has a privacy setting. Why should you be sharing your location information, for example? So all those kind of, or on a Facebook, why should strangers have access to what you post or what you share on the Facebook? Can't you make it just for your friends? Or have a different parameter of what you share with the general public and what you share with your friends? So please look at the privacy settings, very, very important that you look at it. Then, of course, safe browsing, practice safe browsing, because one of the things that is getting very, very popular now is this free Wi-Fi. Wherever we go to the airports, we go to the railway stations, in Delhi, you're going to have Wi-Fi's available everywhere, publicly available. So these are insecure Wi-Fi's which don't have passwords. When you're on a public, freely available Wi-Fi internet, ensure that you do not access your bank accounts, you do not put in your passwords, because those Wi-Fi's could be hacked, your information could be compromised. So you have to take those precautions of transacting confidential information or financial information. Try and do that with your own Wi-Fi at home or a secure Wi-Fi at school, but not what publicly is available. Similarly, make sure your internet connections are secure. So when you're doing any financial transaction, or for example, or any kind of transaction where you need to share your passwords, ensure that it is a secure, when you put the internet URL address, it has to be HTTPS. Ensure that you see that S stands for secure. So it's very important that any transaction that you make, any online purchase that you make, has to be on a secure, mode of payment. That's very, very important. Other very important thing is, I think one of the most important is, be very, very careful of what you download, because every compromise starts with you clicking on a link and something downloads. So be very, very, and what happens with these bad guys, there will always be those dubious content, or somebody who studied your social profile. Oh, that this person loves to play PUBG. So let me offer him something related to PUBG, maybe some few points, a few gifts, or plugins, or access, or whatever it is. Or somebody is fond of a particular music. Somebody loves Justin Bieber. I'm sure you guys are big fans of Justin Bieber, or maybe, I don't know, Badshah. So it'll end up that somebody sends you a nice, collection of free videos or songs of Badshah or Justin Bieber, and you believe, wow, it's wonderful. I would have otherwise had to pay on these pay sites for downloading or watching those videos. I get it all free on my hard disk. But what you don't realize is that there's a lot of malware that has entered through the back door, and that's taking away all your information. So be very, very careful about what you download. Only go to the trusted sites. Don't get tempted by these free phishing links of whatever excites you. I'm sure you would have heard about those lottery tickets and you won this and you won that, and there are hundreds of lucrative offers that keep coming on your phones and on your social media platform. You have to be very, very careful before you click them. So only go to the trusted sites to click them. Other important factor is your passwords. We always tend to choose simple passwords because we need to remember them. It's a very obvious thing. And any guess what is the most commonly used password by majority of the people in the world? It's the word password. Or the second most popular word is 1 2 3 4 5 6. So this is what people tend to do because they tend to forget their passwords, and for every different social media platform or a financial institute, you tend to keep different passwords, and you need to change as per password policies. You need to change them frequently. So we have strong passwords, and one of the ways to change this behavior is instead of having passwords, try looking at creating past sentences or past phrases. So what I mean by that is, instead of putting a word as a password, maybe create a sentence. I and my dog, go to the park, or I and my dog go to the school, or something of that sort, or I and my cat play in the evening. So the sentence is easy to remember, but very difficult to break. So that's another way of looking at stronger passwords. Of course, I did mention about internet connections, online purchases. Again, since you need to give your credit card information or your bank banking details, it's very important that anything that you purchase from secure sites, known sites, which are very well known, so that you don't get trapped into those fake websites or the phishing emails that can swindle a lot of money. The most important, and I'll spend a minute on this, is very, very important, is be careful on what you post. This is something that I want to pause. I want you to reflect, because all of you every day post a lot of content. It could be WhatsApp messages, it could be emails, it could be your selfies on social media platform, it could be forwards, it could be likes, whatever it is. You are posting a lot of stuff. This is super critical. Remember one thing, there are some thumb rules here. There is no delete button on the internet. I'm taking a pause here. I want you to reflect on this. There is no, I'll repeat it again, there is no delete button on internet. Even if you delete something on your Facebook or Google or any of those platforms, it continues to remain on those social media servers. You may not see it, but it is there in the internet forever. So be very, very careful. Think multiple times before what you're posting, because you cannot take it back again. In a heat of a moment, in a spurt of a moment, there's something that you posted or said something on a social media, it stays with you forever. Or there is some embarrassing selfie that you had taken, which you regret later, and you posted it. Even shared it on a WhatsApp. A lot of people think that WhatsApp is personal, but what people don't realize is that it is available to the other guy, and once you've sent it, it's beyond your control. That person could forward it to anybody else. Their phones could be compromised, their laptops could be compromised. So be very, very careful on what you post, and the general thumb rule for children or for everyone is, do not post anything that you cannot share with your mother or grandmother. That's the thumb rule I would recommend. do not post anything, because there is no privacy. There is nothing called as a delete button. I'm spending a lot of time on this. I'm re-emphasizing this because a lot of children, a lot of people are getting into trouble because of what they're posting, either on these sites or on those sites where they think those are closed loop groups, that it will not leak out. But there's enough evidence, there is enough news, there is enough children coming out and saying that how they've been harassed and how they've been blackmailed, and cyberbullying and cyber stalking is another big area that you see and hear a lot about. So this is super important. And of course, do not share anything and everything with strangers. Avoid strangers online the way you would avoid strangers in your physical life. Please be very, very careful about sharing especially with people on gaming sites. You tend to start playing games with strangers and you become friends and you start sharing a lot of information without even realizing that the person who he's claiming may not be the same person. He may be a totally different person. How do you know that guy's credentials? So it's very important that you are very, very careful with what you talk and communicate with strangers online. And of course, most important and very, very important is keep all your softwares, operating systems, mobile apps, everything up to date. Because hackers typically use two methods to get access to your devices. One is, of course, social engineering through phishing and spear phishing emails and links which you click and you avoid the trouble yourself. And other is you have these vulnerabilities on softwares and apps which are exploited by the bad guys if not patched. So it's very important that you keep all your software and operating systems and apps up to date. As and when the patches or updates are available, please apply them. So this are the few things I wanted to share my own experience with the children. I think I've taken a lot of time. In nutshell, because we have to do this. Why is it not moving? Second. I've lost that. I just got stuck. I don't know what's happening. So in a nutshell, I'll just summarize, and before I open it to the panel discussion, that we'll have to we live in the digital world. We are the digital citizens already, and this pandemic has helped us to grow it, has helped us to grow it in a much exponential manner. And of course, it's triggering a lot of cyber threats, and we need to be more careful about them. So just to conclude here, the slide has just moved. Since everybody is a digital citizen, we need to start teaching these do's and don'ts very early. And we need to keep watering these do's and don'ts, in a sense that we need to keep educating ourselves of do's and don'ts as the world evolves, as the digital platforms evolve. And we have to keep weeding out the bad behavior or unacceptable behavior from this. So let me now quickly move to the panel. I've given my views. I hope it made a lot of sense to you people and you could relate to it. So I will now open it up to my panel, and I want to put the first question to Pratham. Pratham, it's been more than 2 months now that you've been all schools, and in fact all students are conducting virtual classes. So I just wanted to know, what is your preference? Do you prefer physical school or virtual classes?
In my opinion, I would totally prefer physical school because what I think is that there is a lot more discipline in physical school. Also, their teachers can ensure that whether the students are understanding what they taught. Then what I usually face, and I hope that my fellow mates also face, is that a network issue, and we always skip a few words or concepts that the teacher is teaching us. Also, not everybody has a comfortable atmosphere at their home to study or to take the lecture. Then when we are at the school, we have some sports periods where we can do some physical activities which are not possible at home. So, but as due to the pandemic, we are compelled to study online, then we should just make the best use of it.
Wonderful. Yeah. Uh, I'll just move this conversation a little forward and go to Sanvi. Sanvi, all schools are trying out the online classes, whether we like them or don't like them. But what do you think are the most important etiquettes that are required to be followed while attending online classes?
Sir, in my experience of attending 2 months of virtual classes, I came across by many students unaware of basic etiquettes that must be followed to maintain the decorum of virtual class. And that is a trouble on all those who are there to gain out knowledge and are trying to focus on what is being taught. So we should definitely keep in mind some basic virtual etiquettes while attending virtual classes, such as while joining a class, mute your mic and turn off your camera so that you won't interrupt the learning process. And always ask your queries when the teacher has completed their topic. Do not unmute your mic unnecessarily in between the session, and do not post unnecessary or offensive comments in the chat box, and maintain the decorum of virtual class as far as you can by your end. That's all.
Okay, all right. Let me now ask Sagar, especially with this online classes now, you're hearing all about conducting those CBSE exams. The examination system, the whole education system in India relies on examinations. So one of the things is because of these pandemic, most of the CBSE exams have been on hold, in fact, are still on hold. And there is this whole conversation around most of these examinations moving online. So I just wanted to know, what do you think? Is it feasible for schools to conduct these examinations online? And would you attempt taking one of those examinations?
Firstly, we are compelled to take these online examinations as pandemic is going on outside. But the thing is that online examination will not be feasible, as the first thing which we have to keep in mind that students should be loyal to themselves, as no one is there to check upon them. Maybe some students take another device with them, and the teachers will not know if they are cheating or not. First thing is students have to be loyal themselves, and examinations are good for them only. Secondly is that I think that the paper should be in MCQ form, as if it is in subjective form, people can easily copy and paste from the internet. And there should be given a time limit to the question so that it can be attempted loyally. Also, I think it will be little difficult for me to attend these examinations online, as we are not in a practice and we have practice of physical examinations where there is discipline around, and maybe some student will face problem of the atmosphere of the home while attending the exam.
Okay, very, very well said. Moving on to Disha. Disha, you've been a 21st century learner, and I just wanted to know, how do you feel that you can use your skills of the 21st century to combat cyberbullying? Disha, you there? Hello. Disha, can you hear me, or I can't hear Disha? Others, can you hear me? I don't know. Disha, I'm not able to hear you.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yes, sir.
Sir, you are audible.
Disha, we can't hear you. Can somebody quickly check, or shall I come back to you, Disha? Maybe I'll come back to you then. Let me go to Subrat. So this is a very common problem now, online gaming addiction. This is affecting every student. I have my own children. I'm having a problem with them as well, playing these online games day in, day out. This is a huge, huge problem, and I'm sure a lot of you guys also will have this addiction. So, what are the cautions you should take while interacting with strangers when you are playing these kind of online games, or generally on social networking sites?
Sir, you have already told that during this pandemic, we all are being good digital citizens. Also, we are using many of the devices, online devices. Also, we are using many online devices to overcome the issues like online classes and work from home, etc. Also, sir, because of that, all the people are having these online devices. Online gaming addiction are common nowadays. Online gaming is good, I say. I'm repeating, online gaming is good as it can refresh our minds. But online gaming addiction is very bad as it can have very bad effects on body like drowsiness, night or color blindness, mental strain, aggressive attitude towards others, and etc. Also on the students, it's more worse as it can hamper the knowledge of a student and can be the reason for the low marks of a student. We should use it as less as possible. Also, while on social network, we must be very much cautious as there are many strangers who can misuse the information of ours. So we should not give our ID or passwords or email with anyone. Or if it is very much necessary, then we should ask to our parents while giving this, and we should give them after only we have been permitted. Thank you.
Moving on to Samiksha, most adolescents today have their own smartphones and other digital devices. How vulnerable do you feel, because of cyber threats? And what are the safety measures that you are taking to prevent any incident that may create trouble for you? Samiksha?
So I think that today each and every adolescent having their smartphone with them is an hour of need because the students are now going on digital. They are studying and getting their education from the phones through various apps such as Teams, Zoom, etc. Apart from these, they are also educating themselves through various courses such as from various websites such as Coursera, Elyson, etc. So I think it is an hour of need for us to have our own smartphones so that we don't hamper the lives of we don't hamper the day-to-day activities of our parents in order to keep ourselves engaged with the work. So but of course that we as we are using the smartphones, we also need to be safe, and it is our responsibility to keep ourselves safe from the cyber threats. Yes, we are vulnerable to the cyber threats as we are going on social media. We are exposing ourselves to the social medias and are also enrolling ourselves in various courses which requires information of ours. So I think a few basic instructions which we need to follow in order to keep ourselves safe are to not to disclose any password or personal information to anyone. And we should avoid using personal USB keys or external drive for purposes of work. For example, when we are in cyber cafes, we use our personal USB drives and use it to share the documents. But we at times forget to log ourselves out. So it might be a problem for us. Apart from that, as you have mentioned in the presentation earlier, we should also keep our privacy settings on. For example, in social medias, we have two steps verification, passwords, and incognito modes, etc.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah. Okay, I'll move on to Adhya now. Adhya, the digital adoption really took off before this pandemic during demonetization. I'm sure you people remember the famous demonetization. And what demonetization did is it gave a lot of flip to the digital economy for online digital payments and all that stuff. And youth was behind this huge driving force using Paytms and other payment tools to adopt this digital economy. So the question I have for you is, in such a scenario, what kind of threats you feel you are exposed to, and how can you overcome these challenges when you're using digitalization for transactions.
As in this digital age, we are doing net banking and doing all transactions digitally. So there are many cyber threats we are exposed to. We might end up giving we might end up giving money to unknown individuals. And one of the most recent examples that is striking my mind is that we all know that our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi has initiated a fund named Intel Fund to help India in a time of crisis. But in today's world are so smart. People in today's world are so smart that they have made fake versions of the site and have grabbed thousands of money from individuals. So to overcome this issue, we should do not provide our bank details to anyone. Don't tell your OTPs, passwords, and PIN numbers in any sort of situation. Just keep a track on your password and keep changing it regularly, as Rakesh also mentioned it. And of course, set a strong password. Try to make payments using trusted devices. Use a digital keyboard while making transactions so that no one can get your password using fingerprints. And as we all know, that prevention is better than cure. So stay calm and take prevention and that's all from myself.
Yeah. Moving on to Shivam. Shivam, there's a lot of fake news conversations that you see around in the media today, even on social networking. Do you think providing fake information on social networking sites can harm you or get you in trouble?
Yes, it might get us in trouble. In my opinion, it is very important to provide the true information on these sites because, firstly, while applying for a job, the companies are interested to look into our profile or background, and through these sites such as Facebook, LinkedIn, they can. On finding false information or misleading, this leads to a negative impact on them, and they can develop something negative mindset of ourselves, which is not good. Also, while commenting or posting information on these sites, we should also keep in our mind that what is right and what is wrong. We should not post false or wrong comments on these posts because, as obviously it is not good, we should also follow the cyber rules. And thirdly, once online it is posted, it is not deleted. But in one situation, it is good not to provide our information as while gaming. During gaming, when we play with unknown persons, it is better to not to reveal our identity because we never know the person with whom we are playing can be a cyberbully or a hacker.
So I just wanted to check once if Disha is still there. She's been able to get access back, or she's not. Or maybe I will move on, and in paucity of time, I will try and take few questions on the chat. Let me see if I can pick up a lot of questions here. I've really run out of time. I guess we should have more time. I probably took up a lot of time. So there's a question, does our state help students become productive digital citizens? The answer to that is yes, because government also plays a role, as I mentioned, in helping develop productive digital citizens by framing laws of do's and don'ts, what's good behavior, what is bad behavior. And of course, they are all implemented through schools and teachers and parents. So yes, states do help in framing those guidelines in terms of, who is a good digital citizen. What are the ways to be safe while using social media? I did mention those. What are the ways to be safe while using social media? I did mention those in my last slide, so I will not repeat them. But be very, very clear in terms of what you download and what you upload. It's very important. Do not upload anything that you can't share with your parents or teachers or your friends. And please remember, there is no delete button. So even if you delete, it doesn't get deleted. So it's very, very important I think that mantra will always help. And of course, I shared a lot of stuff. I spent a lot of time on it. So there is a very interesting question, sir. The app Microsoft Teams, which we are using, can hackers see what we are doing? So to answer this question in generic, not just related to Microsoft app, but any app. So there will never be 100% secure infrastructure or software ever. You know, there will always be vulnerabilities, and as you discover those vulnerabilities, you will continue to patch them. As you patch them, more vulnerabilities are going to be unearthed, and you'll continue to, and the cycle goes on. So you will never have a situation where there's a perfect software which can never be hacked. So, and Microsoft Teams is no exception. It's just that you need to keep patching and updating, whatever patches and updates are available. There is a statistics that 85% of the vulnerabilities that are exploited by hackers, patches are already available for them. So we need to practice, cyber hygiene by updating our systems regularly, and we take care of 85% of the attacks automatically. So one last question I'll attempt before I hand it over, because I just have 5 more minutes left, and I want to hand it back. So there's a question, sir. I used to download movies from Telegram. Is it safe for downloading movies from that platform? So as I mentioned to you, the bigger platforms, the ones which are larger organizations with billions of followers and registered users, those companies can still, they don't cut corners with cybersecurity. So you could still use those platforms to download movies which are trusted sources, but do not click on links. I would rather say go to that website, type the URL, type in your passwords, then download those movies, or for that matter, OTT platforms. But the ones that you get on your WhatsApp and other emails, click on it and it'll take you and give you free movies or free songs. Be very, very careful of the source, because majority of them will play those movies, but the backend compromise your data. So I think there are enough questions. I wish I had more time, but with this, I would like to thank all my student panelists for the wonderful insights and the patience that they had to hear me as well. With this, I hand it over back to Ms. Jitinder Kaur. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. It was indeed an enlightening session. At the end, I would like to say, a single vulnerability is all that an attacker needs, but we have to stay vigilant to be protected. Now, may I request our respected principal, sir, to deliver the vote of thanks. Sir. So.
Yeah, thank you, Jatinder ma'am. Good afternoon, all. I dream of a digital India where cybersecurity becomes an integral part of our national security. In today's scenario, we have seen the rising need of being cyber safe, and I'm sure that our viewers have got an opportunity to reflect on the same. I sincerely thank Mr. Rakesh Karwalji for sparing out time to be here with us this morning. Sir, your valuable inputs have definitely enriched all of us. I am personally very impressed with the way you have deliberated the entire conversation with the students. I really apologize for not taking up the questions because of the shortage of time, and would request Rakesh ji to kindly share his email ID with the participants and the audience, so that if our audience have any questions, they could be directly they can directly get in touch with you. At the same time, I congratulate all my dear students panelists for successfully grabbing the opportunities that we have provided at this platform. I sincerely wish that with this experience, you spread your wings and fly high to achieve the zenith. I take this opportunity to thank our mentor and guide, Shri Bibi Gupta ji, director of our school, for always leading us to achieve the best. Sir, under your guidance and mentorship, all of us are shining bright. Thank you for your continued support. I also extend a heartfelt thanks to Mrs. Kavita Mehrotra, headmistress of the school, and all the coordinators for supporting the cause of furthering the education to the students. I recognize the contribution of my team members, Mrs. Harpreet Kaur, HOD Computer Science, Ms. Ritu Kaku, Mrs. Jatinder Kaur, Mrs. Sakshi, Mrs. Gauri, for Mrs. Dipakshi, Mrs. Priyanka, and Mr. Sumit Diwan for all the technical support and the background work that they have carried out to make this session a successful one. I appreciate your sincere efforts in making today's session a successful one. I take this opportunity to thank our lovely audience for their valuable questions, as we know that no successful session is possible without audience and their contribution. I sincerely apologize for not having answered all the questions that you have put up this morning to Mr. Rakesh Karwal and the students panelist, but you can kindly post your questions to us at bbpsmv@gmail.com. We'll be glad to forward your question to Rakesh ji and send you the reply through the email. We hope to see you all on the other side next week with yet another enriching session. Until then, goodbye, take care, stay indoors and stay safe. Signing off, this is Vivek Gupta, Principal, Bal Bhavan Public School, Mayuriya Phase 2, Delhi. Thank you, everybody.